Hey everyone. Hi. I hope this time my microphone is working this time. Last time I did a live, my last live, it wasn't very successful. There was some in and out. Wow, Claire, you are the first one. Claire, you are the first one. It's doing it again, guys. It's doing it again, guys. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's doing this. You guys can hear me, right? But it's doing that control thing. Hello? Claire, can you hear me? Oh, it's coming through again. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know why it's doing that. Hello? Oh, okay, I got it. I think I know what I did wrong. I Okay, how about this? Hey, Michelle, how you doing? I forgot to turn. Can you guys hear me okay? Hi, Mary from Georgia. You made it. I have Claire. I have Michelle, like usual. Thank you, Michelle, for coming. Thank you, Bean. And Mary. Mary's here. Um, we are here just making a sandwich. We are great. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Oh my gosh, Sai, good morning. You made it, Sai. You actually I know last time you came, you couldn't make it, but I'm so glad you're able to make it. Thank you guys for coming. Can you guys hear me okay? This time I'm hoping that my sound is good. Um, I'm still learning how to get this thing to work, so okay, so is there an echo or the sound is actually good? Because I was hoping that this time I can actually get this thing to work good. So, how is everyone doing? It seems like I haven't done a live in so long, right? It was a week ago, um, and that was a Facebook live, but it just seems like I don't know why, but it just seems like this week has gone by really slow. I don't know. I haven't been able to get a lot of sleep. I was looking at myself today. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I need to get more sleep, right? Zilani, how are you doing? Good morning to you too. Thank you for joining. Hi. Yeah, I was I don't know what I was doing. Well, I was been working a lot, obviously, right? But I know that I probably was staying up a little bit too late because I can't go to sleep sometimes because I'm just so enthusiastic about getting a lot of stuff done, right? So, but sometimes you have to give your body a rest. And I guess I work so much that I'm not used to sleeping anymore. Before, I used to have trouble sleeping. Now, when it's time to sleep, I don't want to sleep because I want to actually do work and stuff, right? So I agree. Slow week and long month. You know what? Maybe it's the weather, right? I don't know how the weather it is for you guys, but it's very gloomy. There's that one video I posted on Facebook where it was actually sunny, right? That one day, but after that, it's been it's winter, so we get the clouds but we don't have a lot of snow. So are you guys having a lot of snow over there? Hi for everyone that just joined. Uh, yeah, so today well, actually you guys I just wanted to show you my since I'm just waiting for some more people to come in. You guys know I am doing my phone cases with Casetify now. I have my own gallery and stuff. So I didn't get a chance to show you my phone with my favorite case on it. So it looks like this. It's in I know it's probably backwards. Oh my gosh, it's backwards. But yeah, this is how it looks like, guys. Isn't that I got your mind matters there. I got the Roger Lee quotes there and the RLQ. Um, yeah, and I'm very, very proud of this project. And it turned out really, really well. It's something that I never imagined that I would actually do, especially when first started. I was just thinking, I would just write quotes, but you just never know, right? And that's what this whole quote is about that I want to talk to you about is like how some chapters end and there's always a new beginning, right? And this is definitely a new beginning for me, right? It's just something that I never expected. But when we start looking forward, you know, to the future because we don't know what is actually going to happen. Anything can happen, right? It's almost like the quote I wrote today about, always being hopeful for your tomorrows because, one day, that miracle that you've been waiting for, wishing for could come true or will come true, right? Um, I love that rainbow hearts. You know what? This is for you, Sai. I got this prepared. I'm gonna take off my phone case. You guys see it back there? I'm gonna put it on my phone because, sorry, I'm just gonna do this before I actually start talking about the quote. But you might have seen the image with it on a black phone, but because my phone is actually white, I am going to put this on for you, Sai, so you can see it, how the case looks like on a Pixel Pro. Dun dun. What do you think, guys? When life gets tough, be brave. And it's got the smiley face down here at the bottom to remind you guys. I really it's such a small little image, but if you just look at it, it doesn't it make you smile, right? I think this case is actually really, really great. I think that's why my daughters love it so much. You know, when you carry it around and you can see the hearts, you can see like the stars, and it's just colors because colors provide project some sort of energy, right? A positive energy. Well, depending on what colors you feel suits you, right? But you know, I think this phone really like if you're having like a slow day or a sad day or you're just trying to think of something to kind of make you smile, you know, you could just flip your phone over to one side. Right? And, you know, you get this great quote which tells you when life gets tough, be brave, and it has a whole bunch of hearts and rainbows. That's why Sai loves it so much, right? Christina, hi, good morning from the Philippines. How are you? Oh, thank you so much, Mary. Zelani, you love it. I love it too. I actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep this on my phone. I've been using this one for a long time because I designed this because this is my motto. Your mind matters. But this one is great too, right? Okay, so I think I'm gonna start talking about the quote because I haven't I haven't been talking about a lot. My last live, I didn't really get a chance to talk for about stuff about my quotes or the main thing that I want to do is try to bring some positivity into your life, and hopefully this quote that I'm going to talk about today for today's episode is nothing lasts forever. Just wait for what the future will bring, because for every end there is a new beginning, right? And you know, the other day I was looking back at I mean, I wrote this quote because I was able to, go back and basically look back at exactly what has happened in my life, you know. But as I was going through my journey, Claire, very cute. I've been going through a hard time, Roger. Thank you for your quote. You're very, very welcome, Claire. And hopefully, this live, what I'm going to talk about today is going to give you that, that positive energy. That's what I love to do. Is just to to give a little bit more hope to anybody that's going through a really dark time. And I know it's 2023. Chinese New Year is coming soon in like 2 days. So if you're into the Chinese horoscope, just because 2023 hasn't started well for you, well, Chinese New Year is starting, right? So everyone has their own Chinese horoscope, and that might be the beginning of you and good things to happen to you, right? So, and also remember, it's still the beginning of 2023, so there is a little bit of some of the stuff from 2022 that's being carried over. So if you're telling yourself, "Oh, but it's 2023, it's a new year, I was hoping things were going to get better." Remember, it's still the beginning. There's still almost 12 months to go, right? So, and again, like this quote says, right? Nothing lasts forever, right? And for every end there is a beginning. And one of one of the things that when I look back at my past now, right? I never really looked at it that way. I always just, I day by day and I just kept moving forward, but I never really went back and kind of dissected my experiences, things that happened to me in the past that m basically created who I am today, right? And a lot of the things that, uh, happen are the choices that you make, right? And sometimes even you don't the even if your choices are correct, life was gonna throw something at you, and then, it forces you to try to make your own decisions, and it's like, I didn't expect this, right? Like, what did I do to expect this? Well, that happened to me, like, especially when I was going through my anxiety and depression. That was something I totally didn't expect, right? Shell, as you know, Roger, my new beginning for my career that I absolutely loved began in late August of last year. Exactly, right? You lose a job and then you're like, "Oh, what am I gonna do next?" And then, oh, what happens after that? A new opportunity happens, right? And then but at that time, when you didn't find your new job, you're just like, "Oh my gosh, here it goes, right? Here I go again," right? And obviously, it's tough to accept, because you're kind of like, I thought things were going well, and all of a sudden, bam, life throws this at me, and then you gotta think about, okay, is there a reason for why that happened, right? And yes, I believe that there is a reason for everything, right? So now, Michelle, that you're in a great place right now, you can look back and say at that time when you were saying, "Oh my gosh, I lost my job," and now you can look back and say, "Now I know why that happened, because it opened a new door for me, so I'm now doing something that I love to do," right? Sai, my 2020 is a little bit sad because the loss of my sister this week. Yes, I heard about that, Sai, and I'm so sorry to hear about that. She must have been so close to you, and, you just have to stay strong as you can, right? As strong as you can. And remember, she will always be with you here, and spiritually and energetically, she will always be with you, right, Sai? Yeah, so the first chapter I wanna talk about, if I go back, right, was when I was, you know how you guys know I like to sing, right? So I started doing these singing competitions, and this was, like, probably in my early 20s. And so I basically was one of the winners for the competition, and we made a CD, and then we did tours and we sang and everything. I thought I was set, I'm like, "Oh, I made it. I'm a professional singer now." So happy, and even for a young age, right? I was like, "Oh, I don't have to work for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be successful. I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna blah 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 blah." And after a few months after, my manager calls me and he's like, "Oh, they don't like it in Hong Kong." Uh, we're gonna have to close, like, get rid of the contract, and he's just said your career is over, just like that, right? And, so that set me back because I was like, thought I made it, I thought I did it, and, it was so sad for me because it was something that I really loved to do, and I really thought that was where my life was heading towards, being a professional singer. But again, you just never know what life is gonna throw at you, right? So I had to find another thing to do, because I thought that was it. So for a period of time, I didn't know what to do anymore, right? But then, my brother, he, was working in California as a comic book artist, and he stayed there for a few years, and he came back, and, we started from the bottom, right? We basically started working at our home, and then we opened this little studio, and we invited our friends to help us, and then we created a comic book publishing company, right? And, this is just something unheard of because we're talking about, like, 2 guys from Canada, and most of, like, the big names are in the United States, right? Like Marvel, DC, and, probably, there's a bunch of other, famous companies now, like comic companies, but we were from Canada, and so but we just said, "You know what? We just love doing what we do," and then we just, said, "Our dreams can happen, right? If we work hard and we believe in ourselves and we believe in our work, you just never know how far you're gonna get, right?" And so we created our own properties, and it did pretty well. It did very well, actually. We were very, very shocked. So we started off in a small studio, and then we got, and in Hasbro, the Transformers movie, obviously, Transformers. Um, we basically got the license to do that. So we were like, "Wow, this is amazing. You get to do Transformers, the comic book," because my brother and I, we played with Transformer toys when we grew up, and now we get a chance to actually do the comic book. And our company just kind of blew up just like that. Our Transformer comic book was like the number one selling comic book. And we made it to the top 100. We even beat like Marvel and DC comics. Like we're talking about like Spider-Man and like X-Men and all those like Superman. We beat all of them, right? For two guys and our crew from Canada, we did it, and, we did so many great things, and I was to myself, I was like, "This is it, I'm set, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life," right? And we were selling our creations to, like, Hollywood studios, we were able to go to Hollywood, and we went to all the studios. We met a lot of great people there. Um, but eventually, things don't last forever, like I do say, right? And at that time, I thought it was going to be because, hey, I'm so successful now, right? We built this huge company from the bottom, you know, and all of a sudden, the company started to shrink a little bit because things don't turn. Sometimes things don't turn out the way you think it's going to. And this kind of makes me look back at the time when things were good. that when you are experience a really, really good time, like, you're joyful and you're happy, really, really sink into it and absorb it as much as you possibly can, because these moments, they you don't know when it's gonna happen again. And it's for some, maybe it lasts longer than others, right? I thought it was gonna last for a long time. Now that I look at it, I'm just like, "Wow, if I can go back, I would do so many different things to change it." And that's another thing that I wanna talk about going back to your past and changing it. But, eventually we lost the business. We had to close the business, and that was so sad for us, because we really, really worked really hard, and all the people that we worked with, we had to, like, let go, or, that we didn't get a chance to work with them anymore. But that was one chapter. I look back at it, and it's like when you read a storybook, that's your life. Your life is basically like this huge storybook, all right, all divided into many, many, many chapters, right? And this was a big chapter that I will always remember, because I look back at it now and I'm telling myself, okay, so if I was able to go back to the past, what would I change? Can I go, like, I would do so many things, but then I tell myself, you know what? Actually, I wouldn't change anything, because I look back at it and I say, I learned so much during that within that chapter, how to deal with people, like, what to do when you're in a financial problem, when you have a financial problem, how to get over something that you thought was gonna last forever, but it doesn't. How do you climb over that mountain, right? Like, so many different things, right? So I basically can go back to that chapter, and I can use whatever I learned from that and use it for what I'm doing currently right now, with my RLQ, and video, like, my video content, or whatever the case may be, right? Um, and so, that chapter was tough for both me and my brother, right? Because he had to go out and he had to start his own thing too. So I'm sitting here, you know, making a lot of money at that time, right? Pretty good money, and then all of a sudden I have no job. I had 3 kids at the time. I lived in a pretty nice house, and we actually had to move everything out and move into, like, a really small apartment, which my sister, luckily, was able to rent to us, right? So I'm talking about, like, 3,000 square feet to, like, 800 square feet, right? We had all this furniture, we're like, "What am I gonna do with it?" And it was really hard to go through that, because I had to go through the closing of my company, and also my lifestyle changed, right? But I look at it, and sometimes you have to go back and you have to accept. Acceptance is so hard, right? Telling yourself that I need to accept this, because maybe it had to happen to me, right? I had to learn something from it. And I know it's really difficult, especially for you, Sai, because I missed Richard, how are you doing? Tears of sadness becomes tears of joy. Joanne, you made it. Hi, Joanne. How are you doing? Look, like that. I swear I missed a whole bunch. Art activates the mind so soul can function. Very, very true, Richard. Very, very true. And I know it's hard for you, Sai, because for anybody that has lost someone, close to you, especially when it's like your sister or your mother, your father, those are chapters that we wish we didn't have to be that it was a part of our life, but we all know that even yourself, that we're not gonna be here forever, right? That at one point in time, we're just, we're gonna have our time here on the planet Earth. We're gonna learn what we need to learn, and then we're not gonna be here anymore, right? So, and that was another chapter that I didn't expect either in my life, when my father all of a sudden passed away. My mother was just like, "What happened?" He was fine yesterday, and all of a sudden he's gone. And that was tough, as a family, just kinda, I mean, like, living with your father for, like, my whole life, and then all of a sudden, the next day, he's not there for me anymore, right? And I couldn't even imagine what my mom had to go through, because she knew her when she was, like, 17 years old, right? And my father was, like, the love of her life, so losing someone like that is just, but we have to move on, we have to move forward, because if you're looking at a perspective from, if you're seeing them, like, Sai, for example, your sister, okay? If she's watching you from above, and she's looking at you, and she's just probably, you can't hear her, but if she's telling you, "Please, Sai, keep moving forward, because you have your own life to live." She wants to see you happy, she wants to see you move on, and, enjoy as much as you can, right? As much as you can, because I'm sure before she passed, I think we all wanna look back and we have our regrets, like, like, "I wish I could have done this, I wish I had spent more time with this person," like and that's why I talk a lot about, when every single day counts, like, every single day while you're awake, of the time that you have while you're awake, just you gotta try to do as much as you possibly can, right? Because one day when you look back and you tell yourself, "Man, I wasted so much time doing nothing." Right? I could have been this. You know, I wish I was able to go back and do all these certain things so I can see what the best version of myself looks like, right? Because we all have a better version of ourselves, but it's what you're gonna do every single day to get to that level, right? Before I had my accident, I really thought that was it. That was me. This was Roger. This is how I'm gonna be for the rest of my life, and I was unhappy. I didn't know why, but now I do know why when I look back because I wasn't doing anything about it to fix myself, right? Because I really didn't think there was anything wrong with me, right? I never really thought there was a better version of me. So, every day, whether it's working out, whether it's focusing on doing my house chores, because that still counts as making a better version of yourself, because the more you focus, the more you are strengthening up here. And I talk about it a lot, that your mind matters, right? Everything starts up here in your mind, right? And even, like, before my whole journey of going through my anxiety and depression, I never thought about it that way. I never thought how powerful your mind can be until I was able to take control of my own mind. Because once you start taking control of your own mind, you're gonna be able to take control of your life. Because once you get inside, deep inside here, you're gonna be able to listen to your negative thoughts before you react to it. You're gonna be able to tell yourself, "No, I do not need to listen to this," right? Your mind can create positive thoughts. There are tons of them up there. It's just that if your negative thoughts, there's too much of it, your positive thoughts are hiding behind it. That's why there's no clarity, right? But once you start getting inside, you start organizing your thoughts, you start pulling out the, positive thoughts, just pulling them out in front of the negative thoughts, so you can start focusing on what you need to think to get yourself to a higher level, to get yourself to that better version of yourself that you're moving towards, right? Those negative thoughts has to you have to basically split them so that you can create a path for yourself so you can start heading to a direction, right? And those chapters that we're going through, some of them are gonna be bad, some of them are gonna be good, but we have to if it's bad, right? If it's bad, you have to find a way to figure out on a daily basis what you're gonna do up here to get through it, right? Because once you start strengthening up here, you're not you're it's just your mindset is gonna be so strong that I know it may not make sense for some people, but it literally is going to basically because you're so focused on working on a better version of yourself, that sometimes those negative thoughts, they just don't appear. Right? Because you're telling yourself that, "Hey, you know what? I really, really wanna see my joy and happiness again. And you know what? I don't think I'm not gonna let anything stop me from doing that." And that was my mindset when I was healing myself. Even when I s right at the beginning, when I started healing myself, I cleaned up that basement, right after that, I was like, my goal and my mission was so that I can, number 1, see my mom happy again, that I could start spending time with my children again, that I can I don't have to cry every day. Like, if you're going through that right now, going through some sort of anxiety or depression, and you're waking up and you don't wanna you don't do anything all day, or you just wanna or you feel like crying every day. It's not something that you wanna do for the rest of your life, right? Right? So sorry, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff on the chat. Rita, hi Rita, you're here. Let's see, it's Rita from Topeka. Is it Kansas? It's Kansas, right? Okay, yes. You are so caring. You have a very big heart. I love to hear you talk. Thank you. You're very welcome. Rita, I'm so glad you joined. Sai, God is planned for you, Sir Roger Lee, and it's your other people with encouraging words. I really do believe that as well too. Uh, especially guys, when after I fell and when my chiropractor told me, he said, "Roger, you are so lucky because if you fell in a different way, you're if you hit your head on a different angle," he goes, "You might not have even woken up," right? So, I look at that and say, "Thank you, God," "Thank you, God," and I'm going to do whatever it takes, whatever I can on a daily basis to help as many people as I can. And I believe that that journey, that whole experience that I went through was a chapter in my life, which scary at the beginning, and I didn't think it would end, but it did. It ended, right? And a whole new chapter began for me, up like, something I never expected ever, right? My passion found me, and, so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to try to, project my positivity out towards you guys, right? So that you can also have hope. I think hope is, like, one of the most important things, and you're gonna go through those days where you're gonna feel like, "Hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm so tired. Nothing is going well for me. No matter what I do, it just things aren't going right for me, you know?" But I'm telling you, man, like, I felt that way every single day. Every single day. I really believed that my future I had no future, right? This was only even 4 years ago, I still had that kind of mindset, right? But look how much I've accomplished within those 4 years, right? Even 1 year is a lot of time. In 1 year, you can do so much. The past year, I've seen my page grow. I've seen my YouTube channel grow. I've done stuff like this, right, that I never thought I would ever do. I'm meeting new people every day, and before I hated people. I hated going out and talking to people and and letting people see me in person because I was so disgusted in myself. I hated myself so much, and I was literally hiding in a corner, shriveled up like this, crying all day. That was me. Right? But I'm not like that anymore because I believe that there is a purpose for everyone. There is a purpose for everything. There is everything happens for a reason. And if you can sink that into your mindset, and if you're going through a hard time right now, tell yourself, "Hey, you know what? This is a chapter in my life. I am going to get through this." It might be like something I never want to experience, but you also have to look at it when you do overcome this battle or whatever you're going through right now. And you're going to learn so much about life, so much about yourself. You're gonna learn how strong you really are. It's all hidden inside in here, guys. It's like it's there. We were born with it. It's just that we have to take these steps every single day, and we have to go through life's challenges in order for it to come out, right? I never knew I was strong enough to be able to overcome anxiety, depression, or even when I hit rock bottom, I thought it was over for me, right? But I was literally able to, you know, train my mind, right? And and get my life going again and start, you know, at that vision I had of myself being happy. I kept thinking about it every single day. I need to go there. I need to be there. I need to make it happen, right? And so then I worked on it every single day and it became my reality. Joanne, I lost my sister in December. Just I'm so sorry to hear about Joanna. You and Sai are on the same are the same, right? Very, very, very tough, Joanne. It is very tough. I hope you're getting better from that. I know it's gonna be tough. When my father passed away, I didn't even think I didn't even know how long that was gonna last, right? I couldn't even imagine my mother, right? It took her, I think, over more than a year, I think, before she realized, that, I still have my kids, I have my grandchildren, and she basically focused all her attention on us to alleviate, the mental stress and the pain deep inside, because she was able to convert her focus onto something else that was gonna bring her joy and happiness, right? And now the thing she does is she puts photos of my father everywhere in her house, so it feels like he's actually there, right? She will go back into her memory. She always talks about my dad, how they met and how, like, how my dad was, when we were kids, and she would tell all these stories, but it's okay. I love listening to her talk about it because you know what? It makes her happy, right? So, and now she's fine. She's absolutely amazing, and I still remember I still have to bring her on live. You have to meet her if you haven't met her yet. I know Shell, you've met her before, twice probably. Mary, thank you for your quotes. They are helping me get through the hardest time of my life. You're very, very welcome, Mary. I hope that quote I posted today helped you today, about always be hopeful for your tomorrows. because those miracles they do come true, and those miracles are also going to be a part of your chapter. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it's because it's going to happen to you when you really, really, really need it the most. I'm telling you, man, that time when I left my family, I left my house and I walked. Was that story, guys? When I walked for like 4.5 hours and I prayed and I said, "Show me a sign." Bam! It came. It showed up because it was basically, my story. But my sister showed up out of nowhere and picked me up in this in the middle of nowhere and drove me home. Mary, I was the same way. I hated people too. Now, since I have God in my life, I love everyone. Tony, I've just lost my aunt after Christmas. How can you move forward? Okay, I want to talk more about that too, Tony. But for Mary, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think at that time when I was hating people, deep inside, I didn't hate people. I was just comparing other people's lives to my life because I was looking at my life and I was like, man, my life sucks. And then I started seeing my neighbors and they're smiling and laughing, and I was like, "Oh, that's what I used to have, and I don't have it anymore. I'm so jealous. I want it back, but I'm never gonna get it." So I started hating it, and then I started, when I went out, I saw people holding hands, like kissing, whatever the case may be that would usually give you joy and happiness. I didn't have that anymore, right? And it hurt me so much because love is so powerful, and I didn't have any of that. But once you're right, once I allow God in my life and I start, and Jesus and thank God, it's the energy, that love energy, and it's so, um, you know, if you can feel it, it's like you can feel it that they're there and they're watching you, and so if you know that they're watching you and you wanna do great things in your life, one of the greatest things that you can do is be kind to people, right? Be compassionate, love people, you know? So, Tony, I lost my aunt at Christmas. How can we move forward? Again, I was talking about how my mother did it, it's going to take for some people, it's gonna take longer than others, depending on how close that relationship is. But, I'm looking at my mother's situation, for example, right? She met my father. She's known her for almost, like, 50 years, right? And he's not there anymore. Like, she's with her every single day. All of a sudden, they're not there anymore, so it's it's what you're going to do to try to, I'm gonna say, get that remind yourself of the joy and happiness, right? Like, you're gonna have to go back and you're just gonna have to remember those moments that you had with her, because those moments, even though you're not gonna have any future moments with her, but you still had those experiences with her, right? She was a part of your life, probably a couple of chapters of your life. She was able to maybe, you know, teach you a few things or, um, just give those moments that you may not have been able to get from somebody else, right? Treasure those moments and carry it with you as you move forward with your own journey, right? And one of the things that I tell a lot of people is that just because they're not here physically, because we live here in a physical, but our soul lives inside a physical body, right? But once we leave our physical body, we are still made out of energy, right? So our soul is going to go somewhere, and it's going to go there, right? Loving place, in a very, heaven, if you believe in it, and I hope you do, because that is where we came from. We came from love. So if you look at it that way and you tell yourself, "Okay, I know that she's looking looking looking, at looking taking care of me, right, every single day, making sure that I'm gonna be okay," and sometimes you can feel it. Sai, I'm not sure you can feel it. Joanne, I'm not sure if you can feel it, but sometimes you can actually feel them, that they are there, even though they're not physically there, but that energy, right? So, yeah, but I know it's going to take time, Tony. It's how you're gonna I'm not gonna say play around with your mind, but what you're gonna do up here is gonna help you in here, right? Just keep her in your heart always, but the most important thing is that you have to focus on your own journey and move forward with that love that your aunt gave you. Keep it in here always, right? It's never gonna leave. It's always gonna be there, right? So, I hope I can have that shirt, Mind Matters. Oh, you like my shirt? Your Mind Matters? Thank you. You know what? Maybe I will do some sort of, like, contest or something, right? And then I'll figure something out. I'm gonna figure something out where, everyone can work together and have fun, you know? So, yeah, so that was another chapter that ended, but the biggest chapter in my life so far was me hitting that concrete step, right, when I slipped and had my concussion, that I thought was if you've been watching my, Anxiety and Depression is Not the End series on YouTube, I talk about my experiences and what went through, but that I thought was going to be a short chapter. Like, literally, I thought I was gonna be okay from a concussion in 2 weeks, and I was gonna be, continue on with my life, right? But this just kept you know, getting longer and longer and darker and darker, and it was like, like this like there were like many, many chapters within this big chapter, right? And I never thought that something like this would ever happen to me, ever, right? And if you've just recently discovered that you're going through some sort of anxiety and depression, you probably thought that, hey, you know what? I never I mean, I've heard people talk about them, being anxious or them being depressed, right? But now you're actually living it, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh," right? "I can't believe that this is really a part of my life now," right? And then your whole life goes, like, shuts down on you, basically, and that's exactly what happened to me. My life basically shut down on me, and, when it gets so dark, you don't really believe in the light anymore because, um it's just that every single day, it just seems like you're walking in this dark tunnel, right? And as you're walking down this dark tunnel, everything that you remember that made you happy, right, is falling behind, right? And you're just pulling away from it, and you're just it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker, and then that's when you've probably lost all hope, and you're telling yourself that, "I'm never gonna be able to make it out of this mess." And that um I had so many things planned in my life, and now I'm never gonna be able to do that, and that's something I did too. I almost threw away when I was cleaning the basement before I started cleaning it, I was like, I was gonna throw everything away because I thought I was never gonna use it ever again. I was gonna, like, throw away my family pictures because, like, every time I looked at a photo of me with my kids smiling, I was just like, that was that's never going to happen, right? And I just stopped doing everything, and that's just something that we as humans are going to do when we are in a very, very dark situation because, we kind of close these doors on ourselves, telling us that, "What's the point?" Right? What's the point of actually I've worked so hard in my past to try to find my happiness and joy. Then all of a sudden, this happens to me, and it's like, when am I going to see that top of the mountain? Every time I'm this close to hitting that top, there's a landslide, and I'm just sliding all the way back to the bottom, right? How many of you guys are actually going through that or feel that way on a daily basis, right? "Oh, I'm so touching of your comforting words. I'm I I love you," and, crying, I did so much of that. I cried so much that it healed me. Like, honestly, it healed me, and that's another thing I learned during my journey is that those tears and you have to remember that tears were created there's a purpose for tears, okay? Whether it's tears of sadness or it's tears of happiness, and right now, if you're crying, Sai, it's a bit of both, but you're gonna feel much better after you do this, so, if I was there with you right now, I would totally give you a hug, and, oh, I'd give you such a big hug, Sai. You're strong, I know you are strong, Sai, you can do this. Yeah, so when this darkness happens, we tell ourselves that this is the final chapter, and that's why I did this series, Anxiety and Depression is not the end, right? Because as I was going through my own chapter there, right, I thought it was the end. I thought that, that this is how it's gonna be for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be popping all these pills for the rest of my life, and that, nothing good is ever going to happen to me, right? Ever. But now you look at it, I look back, I can smile at it, I can say to myself, "That was a really tough chapter," but a new beginning happened to me. This whole journey that I'm going through right now with Roger Lee quotes and helping people all over the world with my content. This is just, something I wouldn't I ne like, 6 years ago, I would never thought I'd be writing quotes. I would never I always loved people, like, ever since I was a kid, and I was always trying to ask myself, "What can I do? Why do I love helping?" Through my whole entire life, right? Now I know why, 'cause I can go back and I can look back at everything that I've experienced so far in my life, and I can put the pieces together, and I can now say to myself, "Oh my gosh, everything is makes sense." Like, it may not you may not be able to think of that right now because you're still waiting for this certain chapter to happen in your life. But some of you can maybe look back and say, "Yes, I do agree that, you know, even though I did go through some really, really rough chapters in my life, that I needed that chapter to happen to me to get to where I am today." For example, relationships, right? If anybody's going through a relationship problem, I was dating someone when in my early 20s for almost 5 years. I thought she was gonna be the one, right? All of a sudden, one day she says, "Roger, can we meet up?" I meet up with her, and then she out of the blue, okay, she says, "I don't love you anymore. I don't love you anymore." Okay, like, I totally did not expect that, right? This is a 5-year relationship. This is the person I thought I was gonna marry, and my world came crumbling down on me. You know, I thought at that point I was starting to get depressed. Luckily, I didn't. Luckily, I didn't. But now that, I look at the person that I did marry and, everything that I've been through with her and, all the chapters that I went with her, now that we have 5 kids in total, right? That whole journey is so I would never trade anything for that day, right? If I were to go back and say, "You know what? I wish she never said that to me, and I actually married her," right? But, like, then again, you just never know what's gonna happen in the future, right? So, you know, I remember if you guys, read that, I did a poll on YouTube about, like, if you had a chance to go back into the past, would you actually change it, or do you believe that everything happened for a reason? And I was quite surprised because there was about, like, 80% that would actually go back to the past and change it. So, like, how many of you actually would actually go back to your past right now if you were able to, and go back and change what you had done in the past so that hopefully, your life could be better? Or do you believe that, "No, I'm actually pretty quite satisfied for what happened because, I did learn some things with those chapters, right? And I'm just gonna keep working on myself every single day because every single day you're writing a new page on your story, right? Every day that page is a part of the chapter, right? So you are able to create these chapters for yourself. Like, if I didn't decide to heal myself, if I didn't if I didn't have that goal and that determination to fix myself so that I could find my happiness again, literally, I'd still be taking 4 antidepressants a day. I would still be lying on the couch right now, and I'd probably be like 80 pounds because I hated myself so much. But it comes to a point where you have to tell yourself that I am not going to live my life like this anymore. Right? Think about it. You don't know how long you're gonna live, right? So, you have to tell yourself, "I have to make the best out of every single day that's given to me," right? And I know it's hard. I know it's hard when you're going through a really dark time because you're not motivated, and you're having such a hard time and struggles just trying to deal with all those thoughts that are going through your head, right? And I was allowing that to happen, and that's why I was stuck on the couch, because I was just literally allowing my mind to do all the chit-chat while I was agreeing, right? The key word here is agreeing. You are agreeing to everything that your mind is telling you, whether it's telling you that you're useless, you're worthless, that you should be ashamed of yourself, that, that you're weak. I think that I was telling myself that every single day. Right, that you don't have the strength to move on, like, your mind can be pretty evil, right? remember that when you start to strengthen your mindset, you can listen, but you don't have to react, right? Because once you start to react to those negative thoughts, that's when your emotions kick in. That's when, this that inner pain, it gets even worse, right? So if you're able to step in there and say, "Wait a second, I am the boss of my life, right? This is my life. This is my body, right? And I do have the choice to say yes or no to what my mind is telling me today, right? If you wake up in the morning, your mind is telling you that you're gonna have a horrible day today, and you say, "Yes, I am gonna have a horrible day." Guess what, guys? Your day is gonna be horrible. But if you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, "I'm gonna have an amazing day," "I'm gonna do great things today," right? "I'm gonna work on a better version of myself. I'm gonna get my I'm gonna find my joy and happiness, or I'm gonna create it today," right? Then you have something positive to think about. Then you have the script to read throughout the day because you're writing it, right? You've basically said, "Okay, here, this is what you're gonna do today," and you do it. Right? It's gonna make a huge difference, I'm telling you. When I was waking up every single morning, the first thing I told myself was, "I'm gonna have a bad day. I'm gonna hurt myself," you know? I'm gonna throw a rage fit because I had all these rage fits, right? And literally, that's exactly what happened, and I was asking myself, "Why am I not having any good days? Is it impossible for me to have those days?" But it's because I was writing the script like, right when I woke up, I already wrote the script for my day. I told myself that this is gonna happen to me, and literally, that's what happened to me, right? Michelle, I wouldn't say I'm satisfied with everything that happened in my life, but I am grateful for it happening because it helped me to become who I am today, as well as I learned what I want to deserve. Exactly, right? Um, Obviously, yeah, it's hard to say I'm satisfied about what happened because you're not gonna look back at some of the really, really tough chapters in your life and say, "Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied," right? But you have to look at your life right now and say, "You know what? I'm good right now. I'm good." And it depends whether you've made peace with those broken pieces from the past, and I'm sure, Shell, that you have, and it makes a difference. So, I'm so happy for you, Shell, that things are going well for you, and Bean, I love you. Tony, I believe that once you make mistakes, pray to God and believe Him. Always, Tony. Always, always, always. It's like, my mom always talked about Jesus and God ever since I was a kid, all right? And when I was a kid, I didn't really understand too much about it, but, as you get older, when you start learning that, um, to have faith, right? That one time she took me to a park, and some of you may know this story. I was really, really at a very low level in my life at that point. And my mom was like, "Come to the park with me. We're gonna go for a walk." And then she's like, "Open your hand," and so I opened my hand and she put like this little pouch on my hand. She's like, "Open it." And I opened it and it was a necklace which with a cross. And literally when she put it in my hand, I saw it. I almost cried because I could feel that I was being protected, like, right when she put my hand, and I literally put it on right away, and I just felt like I needed to make my life change. I knew that that everything was gonna be okay when I put that thing on, right? Put the necklace on, put the cross on. And so, after that day, I prayed every single day. I said, "Please give me the strength to get through this." And there were some days where I was just so desperate. I was like, "Please show yourself. I wanna see," right? But, eventually with God's perfect timing, like I said, with that miracle that, when I left my family, that, my miracle came, thank God, and my sister showed up and she saved me that day, so yeah, so I really wish I was there with you, but you're gonna be okay, okay? This chapter of yours there is going to be an end to it as well, and, there is going to be a new beginning. I don't know when that is gonna happen for you, but remember that what you're dealing with right now is going to take time because it is someone that you lost truly that you truly, truly love. As for you, Tony, and as for you, Joanne, and eventually, you know, things are going to get better. So you always have to remind yourself that, always be hopeful for those tomorrows, you know? Oh, Kona's here. Hi, Kona. Hi, sweetie. You wanna give full sigh? Okay, guys, this is something to look at to smile. So if you are sad or something, I want you to look at Kona. She's giving me love because I don't know what I'd do without her. And here's an example of God, because dog is spelled backwards, God, right? So these little furry guys, all they do is they want to give you love. They don't expect anything from you, and they're so loyal. And I don't know, I honestly, this is another chapter in my life, guys, that I thought would never happen, right? I told my family, I overheard them talking about, we're gonna get a dog. And I was so angry because I was like, why are you gonna bring home a dog if you can't even take care of me? Who is going to take care of a dog, right? But thank God they didn't listen to me, and they went out and they brought her home when she was a little puppy. When she walked inside her house, the whole environment changed. She brought something that was lost, because the environment in my house, because I created it, was this darkness, right? So again, you know, a new chapter opened up for me, right? And she walked in and instantly I felt love. And even though my family wasn't there, I mean, even though my family was there living with me, I felt that I was not loving them. I wanted to love them, but I felt like I couldn't, right? Because I was in such a dark place, and I felt bad that I couldn't, because they were loving me as much as they could, right? But as soon as Kona came in, I was able to give her my love to her, because she would just sit beside me or just look at me in the eyes. "Sai, here she is. Look, look, Sai." "Okay, thanks, Kona. Okay. Oh, wait, I think it's time for her to eat. That's why she came to me." But, yeah, that is another chapter that happened to me and that I didn't expect, but she basically was able to, because I was in such a dark place that my family basically didn't talk at all. They didn't know what to say. So, once a house filled with joy and laughter was now a house full of darkness and sadness, and nobody talked, because it was just that quiet. Right? And the only time it wasn't quiet was when I was crying or I was yelling at the top of my lungs, like, just saying, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." Man, it was scary. But I thank God for giving them their strength to survive that, right? Because I can't remember. My youngest son was only 5 years old at the time, right? So, and I thought about him the most probably, and I think the more I thought about my youngest son made me even more sad, because I wasn't there as a father figure anymore to help raise them. I couldn't take them to school anymore. I couldn't even drive anymore. I stopped driving for 2 years because I just couldn't drive. And I couldn't enjoy those moments, right? Those family moments with them anymore. So, but when they went to school, when my wife went to work, Kona was at home with me. And Shell, this story about, Bean, how Bean changed your life as well. And, I was to be able I've spent my days with Kona while my house was empty. Well, besides my mother was there with me 24/7. And I was just able to, you know, hold her, and just being able to hold her was already enough love, right? And that grew on me on a daily basis, and that reminded me how powerful love can be, right? So, and that's another reason why I said, "You know what? I have to do whatever it takes, to heal myself, right? To mend my family back together." Because the most important thing, honestly, is my mom is not young anymore, right? I did not want to see her cry with me anymore. Some of you may have seen that photo my brother took of me. I was sitting on the front porch, and my mom had her arms around me as I was crying. She had her arms around me, and she was crying with me, and that happened almost every single day, right? She was just telling me, "Roger, you're going to get better. You're going to get better, like, you're not alone, everyone's trying to help you, and just always believe in your to and always be hopeful for your tomorrows, right? I really believe that's where I got that from, tomorrow, because I always listened to my mom, and my mom was telling them that, reminding me that every single day, right? It's amazing how strong my mother is. I when I was at my weakest, I saw my mom at her strongest. Like, she was like I I I couldn't believe how, because she went through a lot of things in her life too, right? So that's where she got her strength from. She went through, like, I mean, when I interview my mom, she can tell you about the things that she went through, right? But she knows what it's like to have darkness in her life. She knows that, she knows how to trust her journey. I never really understood what that meant. And I think with trusting your journey has a lot to do with you going back and looking back at all the chapters in your life, right? And then putting it all together. And then you can tell yourself, hey, wait a second, this connected with this, and this connected with this, and this led me to where I am today. So that is your journey, right? And when you start to understand that, yes, everything that happened in my life so far kind of makes sense, right? And if you have that mindset of say, okay, now I know that even though I'm going through a rough time right now, I believe that I am going to have better days, right? I am trusting in the process. I am trusting in my journey, right? Because everything that is going to happen to me, you can say is supposed to happen, right? Because everyone has their own story. Yes, we do have the capabilities to create it, but I think at the end of the day, you know, we all have some sort of purpose, right? Some may have a bigger purpose than others, but there is something, even if it's small. If you haven't found it yet, maybe it hasn't been time yet. Like for me, I was always searching for even when I was doing that comic book publishing company, I felt that that wasn't my purpose. Even though I was very successful and, it was a great business, and I got a chance to work with my brother, that was amazing. I didn't truly believe that that was my passion, right? Even when I was singing, now that I look back at it, when I was actually singing, I love singing, but I don't believe that was what I was here to do. That was my purpose, right? That's why when I started writing quotes, another huge chapter in my life, right? That's when I felt that it there was a connection between what I was writing, what I was doing, and how I was able to do something great in the world to help people, right? And that feeling of waking up in the morning and the first thing you think about is your passion or what you love to do, and you can't wait to get started to do it. Like, Shell, your job, you say you love your job, that is probably something that you can't wait to wake up. Oh, I know you have to leave being for the day, but I know that you love your job, you can't wait to go, right? And, yeah, and so that's why if you're still searching for your passion, have patience, okay? Because not everyone is going to some of us find it at the early age, right? And that's their journey. Don't compare, try not to. Try not to compare your life with other people's lives, right? I think a big problem that most of us have is that we look at someone that's very successful and we're like, why do they have that? And then why don't I have that, right? And then kind of stops you from it doesn't really motivate you unless you could flip it around and say, "You know what? I wanna be like that person. I'm gonna work every single day, right, as hard as I can to be just as successful as them," right? So you can look at them instead of being envious or jealous of them, you can look at them as an inspiration, right? It depends on how you perceive that, right? So that passion, if you're waiting for it or you're hoping that it comes, it could come, like, it could come, like, tomorrow. You could be searching something on the internet, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you know what? I'm gonna try that. That looks so interesting." And then you start it, right? And then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I actually love doing that." That's how I started doing quotes because when I was going through that dark time, I was trying to find someone to talk to. Even though my wife and my mother was telling me all these things like, "You're gonna get better," they didn't understand what I was actually going through, right? Like, so I had to rely on going elsewhere, right? So I was reading quotes, and I was like, "You know what? I wish someone had told me that." know, just to about, like, remember why you started or things like, work on a better version of yourself every day, like those things, I just never heard someone actually tell me those things. So that gave me the idea that, "Hey, you know what? If these books are actually helping me, you know, stay positive, right? And that is completely so important, right? That I should start writing it too." And like, I didn't know that that would be that, this huge, opportunity for me to actually get my passion to find me. Well, I guess you could say I kinda started it, but I didn't think that that was right. So, missing a whole bunch of chat. I've had so many different kinds of animals, I love them all. Did you ever have a cat? I'm not really a cat lover, I'm more of a dog lover, but I've had cats in the past. I have a turtle in the house, and, let me see. We used to have this huge, like, 90-gallon fish tank, and we used to put, like, all these fish in it, but the only thing about having a big tank like that is the cleanup. So if you don't mind cleaning up a big tank, fish is lovely. My mom actually, at one time, she had, like, 20 birds in her house. She had the 90-gallon, fish tank, she had 2 dogs in her house. So when you walk into our house, it almost felt like I was walking into a zoo, but, my mom loves birds. Uh, Shell, absolutely, being filled the void that was missing in my life and my heart. Yeah, totally, totally. I need to visit you, Shell. I need to actually physically hold you. Side, my stress reliever are my orchids because I love flowers, I love dogs too. Flowers, yeah, that's why I love looking at nature too. Like, every time I sit on my front porch. And remember, guys, that used to be a trigger for me. Like, I was so afraid of walking near that step because I look and because it reminded me, I was like, "That is the reason why I'm going through anxiety and depression. That is the reason why, my life started to become so ugly because of that one step," But now I sit on that same step. Half of my quotes that come out come from that same step that I slipped on, right? So, I made peace with it. I know it's just a step, but, everyone has their own triggers, and that step was actually a trigger for me, but I made peace with it, and I sit there. But when I do sit there, I have this beautiful tree. You guys see the picture of my tree. I look at it all the time, even in the winter, right? When it's hasn't doesn't have the leaves, I still look at it, and I look at how beautiful nature is, and just all the animals, the insects, everything about, you know, nature just is so if you just look at the design of anything, like even an ant, right, or a butterfly, or even a leaf, if you just look at it and just look at its own unique design, it's so beautiful, right? And you yourself is created by God, right? You're this perfect design, right? And you are living in it, and we are living this life in this beautiful design, which is our physical body. And we have to appreciate that, not just ourselves, but what our environment, right? Like not like, that's why taking those nature walks or, trying to go out as much as possible to get that fresh air. When I was having my panic attacks, I just wish I was able to breathe again, right? Because I didn't I that's why I'm so grateful now that I'm able to breathe normally, because it was so tough for me during that time because, my panic attacks were so strong that, when I woke up in the morning, the first thing I would do was I shove a pillow in my face because I couldn't breathe, right? And then I would have to pop, an antidepressant for everything to calm down so I can start functioning kind of more normally. But, at the end of the day, it still turned me into a zombie. And I couldn't even function after that. I could breathe, but I couldn't function because everything felt like it was going so slow. My mind was just like, I didn't want to do anything. And man, it was such a horrible feeling. That's why I had to, tell myself I need to stop taking this medication because if I want to excel, if I want to, if I want to really start working on a better version of myself, this medication can't be a part of my life, right? Shell, Sai, I've learned a lot today from you, Sir Roger Lee. It really helps me. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. That's why I love doing these lives. And I think the series that I have, talking about my quotes and why I wrote these quotes, will help you too, right? How it actually makes a little bit more sense, and you get to understand the reason behind why I wrote what I wrote, right? So, Shell, I was passionate about my precious career as an early childhood teacher and did for almost 20 years, but I knew I needed a change and I wanted to expand my horizons to help children with special needs. And now, Shell, you are doing that, right? And so that's why you love your job so much, right? And yes, you look back and you say, "Yeah, I really did love that job." You actually probably found something that you love even more, which I congratulate you for, and I'm so happy for you. Mary, amen, Michelle. I have a grandson who has autism. My sister-in-law's son has it too. So, you know, yeah, I mean, Shell's doing a great thing, and helping them is one of the greatest things that you can do. So, Joanne, amen, Michelle. My son has autism spectrum. So there you go, Shell. You are truly amazing, Mary, they are very, very precious. Farhana, nice T-shirt. Farhana, did you just join? I think you did, right? Or you've been chatting and I missed your chat. Hi, Farhana, how you doing? I have look, I have your Mind Matters case. Did you see it? And then, where's and this remember, guys, when life gets tough, be brave. That is something that is really important to think of, especially up here, to remind yourself that, you have to tell yourself that, I need to be strong. I need to be strong. And that mindset that I put up here, like, even when it felt like I moved one step that day, and then when I woke up, it felt like I took 2 steps back. I don't know if some of you probably know that feeling, right? Like, you felt like you accomplished so much that day, but then it's like you wake up in the morning and you're just like, "How come it doesn't feel like I moved anywhere?" Right? But I just told myself, "You just have to keep going," right? And never tell yourself that you're too weak to continue moving forward, right? Because once you start telling yourself that you're weak, right? And how are you gonna get that strength to push yourself and get to that destination that you so badly wanna get to, right? That strength, like I was talking about that earlier, that you have deep within you is there, right? You just have to remind yourself that it's there. You're just like, "Hey, you know what? I do have the strength. I can do it." Just look back at some of the things that happened to you in the past, right? Some of the dark things that happened to you in the past. At that time, during that moment, it was a hell of a bad time, right? But how did you get through it? You've actually went through it, right? Because if you didn't go through it, you wouldn't be living a new chapter right now, right? So, during that time, you had strength, right? That part of that strength that was deep inside came out a little bit. And every single chapter, every single bad chapter in your life, a little more and more of that is gonna come out. I was fortunate enough that I went through a very dark time, and I was able to pull a lot of that out, like, stuff like I never thought existed, right? And I used that strength every single day. I don't I like I still have negative thoughts sometimes too, right? Like I worry just like anybody else would, right? But, I guess the difference is that I am able to pause for a moment and say, "Wait a second, is this something that I really should be focusing my attention on? Is this something that I should really be worrying about?" Right? When I was going through my anxiety and depression, I was worrying every single day. I was worrying about my future, I was worrying about my health, I was worrying about my family, you know, and I was creating this world that I thought I was gonna actually be living in, right? And now that I look back at it, I was like, everything that I was thinking of, everything that I was worrying about didn't happen, right? So if you're going through that situation where you're overthinking, I want you to pause. And I want you to really think about what you're thinking about, right? And analyze it before you make any decision to act upon it, right? Because remember, you can take a break and before something comes on, you go say, "Oh my gosh," right? You think of the thought, "Oh my gosh," that's like an instant reaction. But if you have the thought and say, "Wait, pause, let me think. Is this actually gonna help me become a better version of myself? No? Okay, well, I'm gonna put that aside. Let's think of something else, and what's my mind gonna tell me now? Yeah, you are tomorrow's gonna be a great day, I'll go with that. I prefer to go with tomorrow's gonna be a great day and today is gonna be a crappy day, right? So then when you pause and you make that decision, you know, focus on the positive thought. continue to focus on that positive thought. Train your mind to, to think about these thoughts because the more you train your mind, the more these positive thoughts are gonna come like that into your head, right? Because you're training up here. You're retraining the way you think, right? And you're also teaching yourself how to have a little bit more control of how you're going to deal with your thoughts. And once you have that control, when you start to learn to deal with your thoughts, then you're gonna be able to start controlling your life a little bit more. You're not gonna be able to let those negative thoughts get in there, start, you know, creating this world that you absolutely don't wanna live in, right? Farhana, yes, our mind really matters. I know you want to share, right? Thank you for always complimenting on my shirts, Farhana. Joanne, love the phone cover. Oh, thank you so much, Joanne. I don't know, did you miss my Casetify Live? I have a bunch of other designs. Well, I also want to show you this. Not only does it's magnetic, but if you do have an Apple phone, it does come in a phone charger. So you just plug it in to USB, and then you can put your phone matching phone case. And mine matters. And you put it on top. It only works for Apple though, so if you have an Apple phone, you can get this. It also comes in this style too. So if you do get the Brave case, you can also get the Brave phone charger as well. So yeah, so does anyone have any questions for me while you guys are sitting here? I love answering questions. So if you do have one, please ask me. Um, yeah, because I'm planning on doing another live on Facebook probably tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a Q&A, but I do wanna reach out to, the people following my Facebook page that haven't joined me on my YouTube live, just to say, I just love talking to you guys and, and just sharing the positive energy and sharing love and that's why I love what I do. I get to meet all of you guys, not in person, but I get to meet you online and I get to speak with you because we talk through our comments and replies to my posts, but speaking to you through chat, it does definitely feel a lot that I'm closer to you, right? That I'm actually there in the room with you. So absolutely awesome collection. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What else do I have to say? Yeah, also, if I'm almost at 4,000 subscribers for my YouTube channel, guys. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I know probably most of you already have, but please subscribe or share my channel to people that you know that might need to listen to a few things that can help them, and give them a little bit more hope that things are gonna get better in their life. Especially for those that are living in darkness right now. Those are the most important people because that I want them to know that there is definitely a light after that, after the darkness that they're dealing with. Um, and it makes such a difference when you start believing in that light, right? The more you believe in that light, the more it's gonna it's gonna get brighter for you, right? As it did with me, right? Farhana, where's your coffee cup? You know what? Drink water. I brought water this time. I actually have a coffee downstairs. I think I'm on my 3rd today, I think. But I'm gonna probably make a fresh pot. But, yeah, thank you for reminding me, Farhana. I talk so much that I forget to drink. So so, do you have a cover for tablets? Tablets you're talking about iPads? Yeah, for iPads, yes, they do. They have case this actually, they have okay, so this is actually an iPad case, right? So you can put your iPad here, but they also have covers, right, where it's not a booklet type, right? But it does have the case that just goes right on top of your iPad, right? So if you have one, you can just use that. So, but they only sent me the sample of this actual case, but this is still really great quality. If you can see it up close, it's beautiful. I don't have an iPad myself, but actually, sorry, my son does, right? But he wanted a little bit more masculine, so he didn't want the case. Yeah, they do have it for iPad covers. They also, what else do they do? I'm actually gonna use the same designs. I think I'm gonna start with they have them for water bottles too. So, if you're looking for a water bottle, you can have the same design on a water bottle as well. So, Well, the weekend just started. Well, for me, for some of you, it's actually Sunday, so I want you to enjoy the weekend. You know, remember Chinese New Year is coming up, right? So, if you feel that your year hasn't really kicked off in a good way, remember there is still a little bit that's trickling over to 2023. Chinese New Year is starting again, so if you don't know what your Chinese horoscope sign is, you can always Google it, and then, read up, how your year is gonna be. You might not wanna be 100% like saying that this is exactly going to happen to me because, sometimes when you read too much about what's going to happen to you, like a fortune teller kind of thing, you kind of like sink into and say, "Oh, well, okay, it says that this year is not gonna be the greatest." So guess what you're gonna do for the rest of the year? You're gonna think that way, right? So, it's up to you if you're just interested in trying to find out what Chinese horoscope is, what is going to, maybe it's gonna be a fantastic year for you, right? So, I usually don't look at it because I kind of like to create um my own tomorrows kind of, right? And whatever comes, comes. So if you're that kind of person, then stick with that, like, if you don't listen too much about the horoscopes and stuff, but if you're interested, because it is entertaining, check out what your Chinese horoscope sign is, and then see what is gonna hopefully good things are gonna happen to you for 2023. So, how's Kona? Give her a hug. I actually, had her, I brought her up and I told her you missed it, Johanna, but you can always look back at the video. She's doing great. I think she's waiting for her food. She's like on the floor over there. She's like, "Okay, when am I eating?" Okay, guys, I gotta let you guys go. Thank you, everybody. Sai, Mary, staying, Joanne, Shell, Dean, everyone that came and watched my live and stuck for me from the beginning to end. You guys are so amazing. I will catch you. Okay, I'm gonna catch you tomorrow on Facebook Live. And enjoy the rest of the weekend. Try to work on a better you. And remember, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, did I do enough today? And try to make that your daily routine because if you ask yourself that, every single day, you will probably get more done during the day. And because the more you do, right, the more you use your time, the more, like if you're trying to work on a better version of yourself, the more you're going to add, right? So, thank you for encouraging words and this beautiful live stream. You're very, very welcome. Happy Sunday, Joanne. Thank you, Roger. Love and light. God bless. Good night, everybody. I will see you next live, which is tomorrow on Facebook. Remember, love yourself and your mind matters, guys. Your mind matters. I'll catch you next live. Love you guys so much. Bye. I'm gonna drink my coffee now. Bye, guys. Happy weekend for Hannah and Shell and everybody. Love you guys.